How's it going, everyone? Here I am today. I kind of wanted to do something good for the beginners to the game, good for new players, and not even just that. New players, old players, doesn't really make a difference. Everybody at some point decides to try their hand at building a deck. They want to build something for themselves. Maybe they want to tweak a deck that they've seen a deck list for, and that kind of thing, is a little more advanced than what I want to get at in this video. But I wanted to give a basics for anybody who's like brand new to deck building. Maybe a starting point for veterans who have less experience building decks or more experience and just want to compare notes on how they build theirs and how other people build theirs. And so I just want to give this nice little basic, here's a good starting point for anybody who wants to build a deck. And looking for any advice, input, any other methods that people use to get their starting point before they fine-tune their decks. So, to begin with, obviously, I want to point out that I am using DigimonCard.dev. This website has been great since the beginning of my time playing Digimon. Everybody I know uses it to look up stuff. It's great because you look at it, and you've got the library right here has like cards for every set. As they come out, you have the option to hit proxy or English, so you can see all the cards as they're spoiled into new releases. Well, not quite as quickly as they're spoiled, but fairly shortly after they're spoiled, people have them up on here with translations, and you can start getting an idea and a feel for what the card does. You can use this website to right here. You've got decks. So you can sit here and you can check out some different deck lists that people have posted and put up here. You have how to play. You have a link to a how to play if you're not too familiar with how to play. I did make a video about that. Kind of up to you whether you want to watch that. It was like the first video I made, so it's not exactly the best. I might have to redo it now that my setup's a little better and as things get better. But then you got the deck builder, which is the more important part, and which is what we're using here. For the example I threw together to look at the numbers. I just played mono blue, just because that's the first thing you've got to do for a deck is pick the color you're going to play. It doesn't really matter when you're first building a deck what color you pick. You don't really care about that until you start looking into play style. This video doesn't go into, if I want to play this specific playstyle, what do I build? It goes into a basic overview of like a shell for a deck, and you get to fine-tuning with looking at abilities you want to play. And on that note, I used, for this example, a whole bunch of vanilla or like ability-less Digimon, as you can see. So we're looking at, a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't actually need to be done. So the important thing we're looking at here is under the stat option. It shows you, which is really nice about this for the deck builder, not only do you not have to have specific cards, or you can tweak the numbers, or you can make changes with or without the cards, you also get this nice little thing that shows a breakdown of what your colors are, what your different Digimon... Oh, I didn't put any Digitama in this. Totally forgot about that. Not a big deal. Typically, you just run 4 of the same one. Just depending on the deck strategy, it's not that big a deal. But it shows Digimon Tamer option. It shows what levels they are. Shows a color. And it shows a breakdown of how you have the deck. And that's pretty good. That's great. That's kind of what you want to look at to get an idea looking at it as an overview. Here we're looking at, so I have, this is the starting point I wanted to look at, is I have 12 rookies, or 12 level 3s, right? And ideally, when I first start building a deck, before I sit there and I tweak it, before I make the adjustments based on my strategy, I pick out 12 to 14 rookies that I want in the deck to start with. If you're just building a deck, if you don't have a goal of a mindset in mind, you just want to play with the basic strategies that are in the game, and that's play a card, Digivolve, and Digivolve up, you want to have this kind of breakdown. You want to have 12 to 14 rookies that you will, so that you see them. They are pivotal. They're cheap to play if you have to hard play them. They Digivolve on top of your level 2s. They are your bread and butter turn 1 kind of play. They are very important, very consistent for a baseline strategy. Some decks don't care as much. Obviously, Mastamon decks don't care as much. Security control decks don't care as much. Though they do run some. These decks do run some. They don't care as much about seeing them, so they typically run like maybe 4 to 8, depending on them. I got a buddy who plays Megazoo. He plays level 6. He hard plays level 6s all day. And so deck strategy obviously varies. But generically speaking, you want 12 to 14. You might even want more if you're playing a deck like D Brigade, where your goal is to just play a million Commandramon and try and end the game that way. Then you go on to level 4s. I put 10 in this deck. As you can see, I've got 12, 10, 8, 6. And I'm going 2 less than the previous level because you want to adjust the consistency so that you see the lower level more frequently than you see the higher level. Because if you see the higher level more frequently, you're never going to be able to Digivolve into it, and that makes it problematic. So a good rule of thumb for your initial build before you start tweaking is to go a 2-step difference. So 12 to 10 to 8 to 6. I only put 2 of the level 7 instead of 4 because level 7s are, do I need them, do I not? I don't necessarily recommend throwing a level 7 in any deck just because it's a level 7. You want to if you're looking at level 7s, you want to make sure they are useful for the deck list and design that you are running. All of them have different effects. All of them have different things. The reason I threw 2 in this one is this is blue. This is just pure blue. The level 7s are the Omnimon that has Blitz. So he just finishes games. That's all he does. Well, that's not all he does. But primarily what you do with him is you swing your level 6. Your opponent has no security. You Digivolve into Omnimon. You win the game. So I threw him in here because he just works with this. He works in blue. He works in red. Just about with regardless of strategy because of that fact. But mostly, for the most part, you don't have to worry about if you picked yellow or black, maybe even purple or green. The level 7s are very hit or miss on how useful they are in your deck. So don't just use level 7s. Those 2 slots can be used to make any adjustments. You could add tamers, you can add options, you can add different numbers to your other levels. Instead, don't really need the level 7. So we got that, and then we've got 4 tamers and 8 options. These numbers are very skewed a little bit. Personally, I typically run 4 to 6 tamers, depending on the deck. I just posted a video of my Alphamon deck list. In that deck list, I'm running 6 tamers. There are decks where I might run maybe 8 tamers, because of the nature of the deck and the orienting to the tamer usage. We have Crosshard and we have Hunters that are both very tamer-heavy decks. But then there are also decks that are like, okay, all I really want is my memory setter, which is what I did here for this. I put Davis in this deck. If you're building blue, this card is a staple in just about any blue deck for the most part. Obviously, that changes as archetypes go. But for the most part, this card is the go-to blue tamer. He sets your memory at 3 so your opponent can't choke you to 1. He digs through your deck for a blue card. Maybe if you're playing the whole blue-green DNA Digivolving Vitramon deck thing, He can grab a green card as well, which is also great. But primarily, he's just a dig for a blue and a memory setter. Perfect card for basically any blue deck. So there's never a bad time to play him. So for this example, I just put 4 of him because, like I said, I'd probably want at least 4 Tamers in most decks. Although I might possibly go less depending on what I'm doing with the deck. But so you want to look at it like that. You want to look in like options. Well, you fill up whatever remaining slots you have with option cards. And so your option cards in this deck list, I have 8. I started with 8. I started with this number because I put out my basic level of Digimon. I put out my minimum starter shell number for Tamers because I didn't want to grab a couple extra Tamers of a random kind, given that I used mostly, vanilla Digimon for this list. And then filled the rest with option cards. Option cards are what you use to protect your Digimon, get rid of your opponent's Digimon, help clear the security stack, stall, give you memory, like Hammer Spark obviously is a great card. But the idea here is you just fill out whatever slots you have left with options. Now, you could have anywhere between 0 options and like 10 to 15 options. I mean, it's all dependent on the deck. If you're running Security Control or you're running BL Starmon, you're probably running a whole lot of options because you want to see them. BL Starmon, you want to play them, throw them in the trash, whatever, and play your BL Starmon for free, get them back and use them and do a bunch of stuff. Security Control, you use a ton of options to keep your opponent's board clear, keep your stuff going, keep everything going, keep your security stack tall, and all that. Both those decks are decks I've personally played and have built, and yes, people don't overly like them, but they can be fun at times as a personal thing, as the one playing them, but we don't really worry about that. So you kind of just want to float in options. Other decks, like my Black War Greymon deck, is running like, I need to update it again but at the moment it's only running like 2 copies of Hades Force. So I have 2 options in an otherwise Digimon Tamer heavy deck. So there you go. You have the variance between like, I have 8 here, I have 2 there, I have 15 here. I mean, it just varies depending on different things. So the whole point of this video is to look at these numbers, look at this basic starting point for your deck, and not only just take a look at things like this. Take these numbers, think about them, compare them to. I've got a few deck list videos up. Take a look at some of those. You'll see that they don't follow this, but this is where I started with them. These are the numbers I started with. If you disagree, leave a comment or showing respectfully, please. I want this to be a discussion, not a ridicule kind of thing. Everyone's got a difference of opinion. Let me know if this helped you. If it did, like, subscribe, share, let other people know if it can help them. And just let me know if any advice you have to, help me make it better. And let me know if you want to see something a little more in depth or something specific you want me to talk about. I'll be sure to make a video and elaborate more on it. And hopefully we can all get going, get playing, get building decks better. Decks become more consistent. We all have more fun. You have a good day now.